Greetings, my name is Dave Glover, and today I'd like to walk you through how to configure snort rule detection within a RSA NetWitness packet decoder. The packet decoders, if you're unfamiliar with NetWitness, are the capture devices that receive the network traffic. They will then parse, enrich it, and then present it within the NetWitness UI. But first, to start capturing and parsing out snort rules, we need to follow a document that I have here that's posted on the RSA community. So if we look through this real quickly, talks about the type of rules that you can use, and it also talks about the initial decoder configuration. So that's what we're going to focus on here in this video, walk you through how to get this set up. So let's take a look at the first initial set of steps. So we have the initial decoder snort configuration, and what we need to do is this all starts with creating a snort directory within the packet decoder. Once we get that created, we then need to create a snort configuration file. There's a sample here, right down here in the middle of a few lines that we would put into the configuration file. Once we have that in there, we need to make some index changes on the concentrators, and then once that's done, we can actually go ahead and deploy the rules. Let's actually get started here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to log into my packet decoder using WinSCP. So let me drag that window up here, and we're currently in Etsy NetWitness. Now, according to the documentation, we need to go over to the NG folder and then the parsers folder. And what we need to do is we need to create a new directory here that's called snort. Now you can quickly scroll down here and see if one has already been created. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead here and create a new directory called snort. So that's as simple as doing a right click, new directory, and again we're going to call this snort. Now this is specific, you can't name this anything else, it has to be this this directory name. So click OK. Now we have the snort directory created. Here is where we actually need to go ahead and create that snort.conf file. So we'll just go ahead here and create a new file. What do we want to call it? Again, very specific, we need to call this snort.conf. Once we get that created, let's just copy out those lines that we had from the documentation from step 2. We'll go ahead and paste those in. So this is our default snort configuration file. Now, you could actually expand this out. A good sample is when you go ahead and download the community rules. Within that tar file is a sample snort config. And if we want to take a look at what that one there looks like. Now I've actually pared this one down just a little bit to remove out the pieces that NetWitness really doesn't work with. But what I've got here is this is just the definitions of what your network is and what the ports are that you are interested in and so forth. Now if we look at the config file that we created, we're actually specifying that they're any's. This is basically casting a wide net and looking at any ports, any addresses for home, any addresses for external net. So let's go ahead and save that. Once we've done that, we now need to configure the indexes on NetWitness, and that's called out here in the guide as well. So let's go back to that. And I'm going to jump ahead just a little bit. Basically, I'm here in the WinSCP window. I figure I can just get everything done while I'm there. So let's scroll down to step 6. So step 6 is the important one. These are the index keys that the snort rules are going to use. Now, depending upon what NetWitness version you're on, it could be a combination, it could be all of these. I've also seen in some of the newer versions we're using some of the other keys, and we can talk about those too once we get through that a little bit. Let's go ahead now and modify the index files to make sure that we have these keys in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up another WinSCP window to the concentrator, and then we'll go modify the index files. Now in my case, I actually am on a hybrid device, so therefore the concentrator and the decoder services are on the same box. So what I can do is I can go ahead and copy these out. We'll go back to the WinSCP window, and we're going to back up a couple of directories. We want to go to Etsy NetWitness NG, and then in here we have this index concentrator custom file. This is where I want to make the changes. To make these changes, it's very, very simple. I can just open up this XML file. We'll go ahead here and scroll past any of the out-of-the-box ones. And what we'll do is we'll just go here and we'll paste in these additional keys. This step here could actually be done through the NetWitness UI, no problem. I was here, might as well just do it within this WinSCP window. And what we want to do is we want to go ahead here and click Save. The next steps that we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the rule base that we can add into the decoder here. So if we actually go ahead here and click on this Snort Downloads, Rule Downloads, when we click on that, it gets us into this page here. The NetWitness decoders support version 2x rules. We do not support currently the version 3. So what you can do is you can actually just pull down the 2.9 rules. So I actually have these sitting on a Notepad++ window. Let me go ahead and resize this so we can actually take a look at what's going on. And there is the sample or the community rules that were brought down. So we see that there's alert, protocol, what network we want to look at, ports, and then it will add in the rule names and so forth into meta within NetWitness. So we've downloaded the rules, and now let's jump back to our document and find out what we do with the rules that we have. So where we want to load the rules, let me go back to my WinSCP window, is in the same directory that we loaded the snort config, etc netwitness ng parser snort directory. Now I want to actually jump into the NetWitness UI. So we'll go over here to the packet decoder. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that in the config, scrolling down here in the parser configuration, that the snort parser engine is enabled. Right here we see that that's enabled. We can also open that to see which of the keys are being written to. And now what we can do is we will go in back to system, and what we will do is we'll go ahead and shut down the service. But one thing I want to show you real quick, so let's jump back to config. If you click on files and now you go down to community rules, what it's going to do is it's going to load all the rules that we actually placed in that directory. So this is an easy way for you to edit those rules without having to go into command line or through WinSCP. So let's go back over here and let's go to system, and what we want to do is we want to restart the system or shut down service so that it will go ahead and reload the parser engine. And what we can do is we can actually see through tailing of the logs to see what's going on the snort engine. We can see what rules are being done and so forth. Shutting down the service is one way to reload these. Right? So when you do that, what it's going to do is it's going to stop capture, reload the parsers, and then start capture again. Now, in a production environment, that may not be a great idea because you will lose whatever packets are being captured at that time. Another alternative is to actually go to Explore, and what we can do is we can open up Decoder, right-click parsers, click Properties, click the drop down for reload, and click send. Now I'm not going to do this just yet because I want to open up a command line to actually show you what's happening in the background on these snort engine and the rules that we've actually pulled in. So let me go ahead and open that up, and I'll bring that into the screen. I have my command window up now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tail F on var log messages and grep it for snort with a capital S. So now let me go ahead here and click send. And let me bring my command window back up. What's happening now is the engine is reloading, and then as we see how things are loaded up and the interpretation of the rules, we'll actually see those here in this window come up here in just a moment. And now what we're seeing here is it's loading up the parser engines. We can see that snort has been loaded up, and what we're going to do is we're just going to wait here for just another moment or so, and then we'll see what else comes out. A couple more items came out, and this is where it's very useful to the operator or the analyst to actually know what has gone on. So the way that the packet decoder works, if there's a problem with one or two of the rules or something that we just don't support, we'll go ahead and ignore it, and then we'll go ahead and here and then we'll tell you that we ignored it. So what do we look here? Let's look here at the last couple of lines. We see here that we were able to load in 414 rules. Of those, there's a couple that are unknown. Actually, I apologize, there's 496 rules. And if there's any issues with any one of those, much like this undefined snort rule classification, what it'll do is it'll actually use our default classifications. And that's about it. So that will show you that we actually, or that the decoder found the rules file, was able to actually open up the rules file, and it shows you how many rules are actually present in the system. And that's about it for getting the rules implemented within a packet decoder, and I hope that that was useful. Thank you.